we should be live right now.
Perfect. Can you send me a link so I can share it?
Yes.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. If you can already see us.
Yes, we guess we're live. And I already sent it to you.
Oh, perfect. I will just share it with my computer.
And hello, everyone. We are Soul Talk. Am I having a... And I'm not sure if you're hearing a call. Why is he here? Echo. Oh gosh. Still can you hear me? Hmm. Weird. Closing all the windows. Sorry guys. There's echo that I don't know why. Audio. Okay. Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, there's no echo anymore. Oh gosh. I don't know what happened.
Okay,
Perfect.
It's funny
It's
because
funny
I can
because I
hear an
can hear an
echo.
echo.
That's all
That's
good.
all good.
You do?
Is it
Is
better
it
if I
better
take
if I
off
take off
my
my
AirPods?
AirPods?
Uh, I hear you the same. Oh, there.
Is that
Is
good?
that good?
Yes.
All good.
Oh,
Is it
good.
better?
Is it better?
Yes, there's the quirks between Zoom and StreamYard. They're very different programs. But well, we're live in YouTube and we're live in Facebook.
Yay, I'm so excited to be
Yay,
here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, let's dive in. How about that?
Perfect.
Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Monica Ramirez, Warrior of Love, and today we're in Soul Talk. And we have a very special guest today that I've been following her for a while because I can recognize her from past lives. I Her face is being a face that I have seen before since long time ago, and I know we have met before. And not only that, when I went to Harvard in Blue Talks, there she was in person. Even if we live very far apart, she's in Canada and I am in South Texas, almost with the border with Mexico, the connection is still there because energetics never change. And her name is Lisa Stampler. And oh, I don't know why her name is not there, but well. And well, I will check that out, guys. I'm not an expert in StreamYard, but we wanted to be alive in today's show because I'm gonna tell you a little bit who she is, and today what we're gonna be talking it is about how we can get influenced by entities, but it's not gonna be too much my perspective. It's gonna be the perspective of Lisa and how she see attachments or entities or whatever she wants to project into that. Let me tell you a little bit who she is, Lisa. Lisa is an intuitive coach, healer, soul guide, best-selling author, speaker, spiritual teacher, and founder of many courses and supportive membership to help others to reconnect to the sacred selves and the inner power. Lisa is also very intuitive. She's a channeler, and also something because I had a reading with her that it was very on point. That I highly recommend to have a reading with her. I saw that in Harvard, in Blue Talks, and I saw her also in my private session that I had with her. And I highly recommend you with her. So that's why I wanted to have her own unique way to how she see entities, how she or attachments. They're different, but she will explain you that. Thank you, Lisa, for accepting my invitation of Soul Talk. I really appreciate that.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so
Miss
much, Miss
Monica. I
Monica.
just
I
think you're
just think you're
wonderful, and
wonderful, and
it's
it's
great
so
to
great
meet
to
you.
meet
And I
you. And I
completely know that
completely
we are
know that we
part
are
of each
part of
other's
each
soul
other's soul
tribe, and I
tribe.
love
I
it so
love it
much.
so
So
much.
thank
So
you. It's
thank
such
you.
a
It's
pleasure
such a
to be
pleasure to
here.
be here.
Amazing.
Amazing.
So
So
going
going
into
into
entities is
entities
funny
is
because
funny
I
because I
asked
asked
Monica how
Monica
what she
what
wanted
she
to talk
wanted to
about
talk about
exactly because
exactly
I have a
because I have
very
a very
different
different
perspective
perspective
on
on
entities,
entities.
and it's
And
not
it's not
usually
usually
talked
talked
about,
about,
especially in
especially
our
in our
communities. That's
communities.
one of
That's
the
one of
things
the
that you
things
and
that
I
you
were
and I were
mentioning,
mentioning,
right?
right?
Yes, in our communities is a no not to talk about this. Everything is light, and they're too afraid to talk about it. But it is like denying a part of ourselves because we all come from source.
Yes.
And it is important to talk about entities and not to be afraid of it because we don't want to give our energy to something that we should not be even be afraid
Yes.
because
Yes,
we forgot how
Absolutely.
powerful we are.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
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 entities are
entities are
real,
real,
and
and
I actually just did house clearing on somebody who is going into university, and she can feel energies, and she was feeling something in her home that was disrupting the energy. So I do house clearings for people quite regularly because entities and attachments are real things. They are real things. And often what they are earthbound spirits. So because they become earthbound for whatever reason, when they leave their bodies and have the option to go towards the light, that's a real true thing, because of what they learned or because of what they did. So often it can be through like what they learned, through religion, through their religion, or what they were taught, or the feelings of being a bad person or being scared to go to hell. Then they don't go towards the light and they become earthbound. The thing with earthbound entities is that it's almost like they get stuck in purgatory, their own purgatory, because they are not of this world. They are in this world, but they are not of this world. So then they have to almost, first of all, some of them don't even know that they've passed away. And second of all, they need to live off other people's light. So, because our earthly forms, when we are alive, we hold light within our bodies. And when our soul leaves, that light goes to the light, it returns to the light. Now, to become an earthbound spirit, again, it's because you don't go towards the light. And what's so interesting is I know somebody who can cross over earthbound spirits, and it's actually a really beautiful job to do, where it's a sacred thing. And this is something that I did with this entity clearing 2 days ago when I did it for this girl's apartment. Is I literally just guided this person to the light, this entity to the light, and reassured them that it was safe for them to go to the light, and that their loved ones would be there and welcome them, and that there was nothing to fear. So it's really important that we acknowledge these things, because we can think like that we're crazy, or that there's something wrong with us, or that we're making up something. But in truth, these beings are like, they used to be of light, and they are just lost, essentially. Would you agree with that, Monica? Oh, we can't hear you, my love. I can't hear you.
Yes, we everything is energy. I do agree with you. Everything is energy, and we all come from the same source. And the thing is, everybody wants to think about dimensions, that they're a separate place, and that's where the mistake it is. And conscience is dimensions is a state of conscience of every single human being, and that's why we're all in different kinds of conscience. And some of us we interact in the same kind of conscience, 3D or 3D dimension, where we are right now talking. Well, we're even in second D because we're using the internet at the same time in a 3D world. So just to something you can think about that. Imagine an entity, as someone that passed away or died, that haven't realized that it's already her body, it left their body in this plane, and it's already in moving on into a different plane because it doesn't have this 3D body. And that's where it gets confused, because it haven't get the memo that it's already dead, or you don't want to leave their loved ones, or things that did not resolve, or anger, or different issues that they have in the state of consciousness that they still are. Not because they're dead. I mean, like, oh, Charan, they are already angels, and they don't have any more issues. No, they're still carrying the issues that did not resolve when they were alive. And that's where it gets messy. That's the part that it gets messy. I have done clearings too, and I have sometimes you encounter not more than one. Encounter more than a bunch of people having a basically kind of a party, because they need to feed from the fears, they feed from the anger, they feed from all dense conscience that we all have. So more than you have fear them, you're feeding them. It's like you don't want to have tons of cats outside your house, don't leave food outside your house. That's what it is, the fear. And that's why I thought it was important to talk about entities. Because I have heard, I don't know, because I know you teach also channeling and so forth. And I do also teach channeling. And something that I encounter a lot with my clients, I don't know, is that your experience? That they're so afraid to start channeling because they might channel a demon. And that's the first thing that they get. And I understand why it comes from. It comes from church. That they put those things in their head, that the only one who can talk with God is the priest, not another human being. Like the priest was not human. And that's why they're so afraid to be channeling or be a medium or feeling these entities, but not necessarily they're bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
100%. And
And
as
as
long
people
as people
learn how
learn how
to
to
do
do
things
things
properly.
properly,
So I
so
have
I have
intention that,
intention that,
like the
like the
same
same
with
with
in
in
this
this
3D
3D
reality,
reality,
we have
we
to have
have to have
boundaries in
boundaries in
order to
order
have
to
a
have a
wonderful
wonderful
existential
existential.
experience. We also have to, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I just put in myself in mute so like that you don't hear too much
Perfect.
echo of you.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So in order for people like to have like this great experience, they have to have boundaries. They have to be healthy boundaries. So it's in essence, we tell people how to treat us, or we tell things what we will allow into our energy field. That very same thing needs to happen when it comes to when working with spirit. So one of my boundaries is I don't want to see apparitions. I am not available for that. If they're going to do that, I'm not willing to do this work, because truly we can get this information from so many different ways. We can see it, we can think it, we can feel it, we can know it, we can taste it, we can smell it. There's so many different ways. We were just talking about this the other day in one of our classes. And it's important that we are able to hold and honor our boundaries. So for instance, when I'm channeling across over a loved one, let's say in a reading or whatnot, I can get an impression of what they look like or what they felt like or what they are, their attributes were, but I don't want to see it. So it's being very, very open and conscious about what you are willing and not willing to experience. Because yes, there absolutely are entities, which is why it is so important. And I love, Monica, that you wanted to have this conversation, because I actually know of 3 girls who had a seance in their basement. They were only 15 years old, did not know what they were doing, thought they were messing around, and they called in dark shit for real. And they did. And it really did happen. And 2 of them had to go to Italy to have an exorcism done. And one of them I was fortunate enough to work with, and I referred her to somebody who removes entities and attachments, who I refer all my people to, who come to me. And when the information is channeled and downloaded, that's what the issue is, I refer them to this person so then they can remove it. And it's just, people need to understand that. And I love how you said this, everything is energy, and you don't just mess with it, and you have to be mindful. And there are entities, and there are, just like there's good people on earth and evil people on earth, there is good entities and there are not good entities. So we just have to be very, very mindful, because it is so true. And I just want to touch on the fact, please interrupt at any time, because I'll just blah, 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 because it's all coming through. For children, if a child walks into a room, I always set the intention, and I ask our guides and our protectors to go ahead and clear the space first, because children, when they have reactions, they are still so connected. They're not or they're not programmed and everything. They don't have all of these untruths told to them, so they still see truth and think truth and hear truth. So they will go into a place, and if they say they're scared, we need to start listening to that, because it's the same with pets. Like if they're seeing something and you can tell they're seeing something, they're actually seeing something, and we need to really hold space for that and recognize that it's true. And
And
then
then
it's
it's
really our
really our
job, I
job, I
feel like,
feel like,
to
to
educate
educate
people that
people
this is
that this is.
real.
I do have several of experience on that. Because I do remove attachments and I remove entities and I do exorcisms, and I have done it. And what I like, because you can remove all that entities and so forth, but if the person is still doing the same thing that they attracted to the first time, and that includes movies, that includes music, that is going to certain places or doing black magic, that it is real and many people still practice those things. And what is the difference between the light and the dark? it is respecting the free will. It is a tiny line, but that's the line that is mainly the more important. I mean, the people still working with those things, they're gonna attract that again. It doesn't matter how many times they can come once a week with me or with any of the persons that we work with that, and they're gonna have it again. Why? Because they attract it again. So what I like is actually to teach people how to, one, not to do it, those things, and how to remove them themselves. Why? Because it's a dirty job. It is a dirty job, and it is not. It is dense for the person that is carrying it and for the person that is doing it during that clearing. And it is not a easy. It's not so easy sometimes, and you have to decide of wearing protections and so forth. Like one time, I removed an entity from a client that I had, and I clearly can see the entity with my third eye, and I saw it walking all around, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, and the guy was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and I removed the entity, and he left. Then a few days later, my son comes and tell me, Mom, there's an entity in my room. They don't, he don't believe in those things, but the first time he came and tell me there's a woman dressed in white, look like this and this and this and this, like, oh shit, she stay here. So it was, even if I clear my house and my space and so forth, and sometimes they just, oh, let me launch to the next person that is afraid, let me launch to the next person that is vulnerable. So that's why I do it, because it's important to do it, because it invades our thoughts and our emotions, those entities. That's why it's important to remove them. But at the same time, I teach people how to not feed them. It's like having the cats outside your house. Do not feed them. The more that you be afraid, more that you're gonna attach them. And don't play with those things that you don't even know how to handle. Don't play with dark magic. Don't intervene in the free will of other. Basically, that's the line between the dark and the light. It's very simple sound, but everybody intervene when the control freaks intervene in the free will of others. And it says, oh, I don't do that. But yes, but if you're a control freak, you still are intervening in the free will of someone. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And it was interesting because this came through in one of my sessions today, and it was like, um, one of the ways that we can prevent, because I think it's also important to talk about that. One of the ways that we can prevent negative attachments or entities or that from happening is to keep ourselves a clear vessel, allow ourselves to be a clear vessel. Because this is what we were talking about today. There are so many marijuana dispensaries and alcohol dispensaries and all of that. And if that's your jam, that's cool. But these entities are attracted to lower forms, to lower vibrations. And that's why, Monica, when you were talking about like fear and worry and anxiousness and all of that, that's what they're attracted to, because those are lower vibrations. And then you add alcohol and marijuana or any other substances that lower your vibration, that it's like opening yourself up. It's like it's like, okay, here, I'm just gonna like allow myself to be, but people don't know that. People don't, like, I feel like it's something that needs to be taught in schools. Like, it's not just for your health that you are, well, I mean, it is. It's for your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health, your, all of those things. It keeping yourself a clear vessel. So then, and I mean, that's with your mind, everything, like keeping fear out and worry and all of those things. And, eating healthful foods and eating clean. So then you're not attracting those lower, denser energies.
Remember that many of those lower entities, we were not being this mess if the religion had not put too much fear in human beings and make them feel inferior to. That's a bigger vice than any drug in the world or alcohol in the world. Why? Because people stop believing in themselves and they forgot how divine and powerful they are. thanks
Absolutely.
to control of the world. That's what all the religions have done to the human being, and that's where all these fears are coming from, because it comes from
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
funnily
funnily
enough,
enough,
remember how you
remember
were
how you were
asking if
asking if
there were
there were
different
different
levels to like
levels
my
to
one
like my one
academy?
account?
Well, my
Well, my
next
next
level is
level is
teaching all
teaching all
about
about.
divine feminine and how it was removed from um like religious texts and everything and all of those things, and it all became about control and deceit and illusion. So the next level is all about like reclaiming that and remembering truth and remembering our power and all of that. So I just thought that was super interesting because I have notes beside me, and that's literally what we talked about this morning. It's like so many of us are out of tune or out of touch or disconnected with the deception, with the illusions that we are taught, like by people like in school by authority figures, and it's just like because they don't know, they're not conscious, right? And it's so sad really, and I believe it is our job for people like us and other light workers to help people realize what truth is.
Yeah, and the sad part is that we can't force them at the same time. So it is their free will to believe in whatever they want to believe, and it is okay. It is their own process. I grew up in a Catholic family. I studied with nuns. It took me years to remove all that, sorry, to all that trash from myself, because I didn't want to say the word exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But because I was, of course, in fears. Like I started channeling when since I was a kid. So imagine to believe that I was channeling when the priest he was the only one that could talk to God, and believing in myself, it took a lot. And I noticed that with majority of my clients, that the ones that are more religious, those are the ones that believe less in themselves.
100% because
100%
they're
because they're
indoctrinated
indoctrinated
to
to,
and I
and I
totally
totally
believe in a
believe in
higher
a higher
power.
power.
Totally
Totally
believe in that,
believe in
but
that, but
it is
it is
indoctrinated to take their control. It's like allowing somebody else to control you or allowing to be conformed to this certain way, and it's like that's what the killer of everything is. It's like stealing people's light, stealing their power, stealing their, yeah, it's so fascinating. And actually, so my husband is a Catholic school teacher, and even him, and I'm very good friends with a religious teacher. I love her so much. And even she says, you know, a lot of things about the church have to change big time. And right now we're having the discussion of, because my son's going to be in school soon, and I'm like, I am not sending him to Catholic school because I feel like it's just all about blame and shame and guilt and um really deadening our senses.
I have even prayings. I remember this, like my fault for my fault for my fault. Like, oh my God, that's horrible. That's completely shame and blaming. Just yes, I did not send my kids to a Catholic school after having that experience, definitely. But but it's their choice of everybody, you know. Whatever you wanna, we have the free will to be parents and teach our kids however we want, and um, and that's the choice of each one. But yeah, I did not send my kids to there. Lisa, please tell us a little bit of your academy, because people need to know about your academy. You're teaching a very particular class that I registered because, hey, we're always learning new things and we never know what we're going to learn. So I registered with Lisa. So please, Lisa, let us know about your
Yeah,
academy.
Yeah,
absolutely. So
absolutely.
thank
So
you.
thank
So
you.
my
So my
Academy
Academy
extension
extension
is
is
my
my
newest offering. Everything that I offer is always downloaded from Spirit. So this has been percolating for a little while, but what it essentially does is it's a 4-week journey where we go through and we explore. People are able to find out what their unique gifts are, what their unique soul gifts are, and how they can strengthen them. We're also doing a massive clearing, an energetic clearing, and an activation of our hands and our hearts and our third eye so we can help to be able to channel more love and light from the creator, from source, so we can help to heal more people, help to be able to use our gifts more. And there's just so we essentially teach people how to be able to use their exact soul gifts, so they can be feeling more empowered, so they feel more fulfilled, so they know how their intuition and how their ego acts, because that is the basis, that is the foundation of truly like energy and actually everything, right? And it's like knowledge is power. So once we know those things, once we can reclaim our innate gifts, because truly we are born with a certain set of gifts that only we can do, right? And because of the programming and the conditioning, oftentimes those are repressed or they are stuffed down. So, for instance, I know somebody who she was, she really wanted to work in farming, but her parents were hell bent on her getting a music degree. So she went and got a music degree and hated it every second of it. And it was torture for her, but did it to please her parents and came back and ended up doing farming anyhow. So it's like, we have the desires, we have the passions, we have the things we are naturally good at for a reason, because they're part of our purpose. And that's why so many people are anxious or depressed, because society tells them if they do A plus B plus C, you go to school, you do these things, you do a family, you get this, then you're going to be happy. But that is not true. That is not true. I had all the things and I was not happy or fulfilled, because I knew that there must be more to life rather than just like working for the weekends or partying your life away or whatever, right? What seemed to be the normal thing. I remember when I met my husband and he's like, well, what do you mean you don't drink? What do you mean? What do you mean? Everybody drinks. And I was like, no, like I did. But then I got to a point where I met angels and now I'm like, now I'm good. Like I don't need any of that stuff. I'd rather know the magic of life. So this is really what the Academy does, is it really helps people to rebond, reconnect to their inner selves, their inner gifts, and help them to open up to the magic of life and the truth of life and how to get life to work for them. So I just love it.
Yes, I definitely I feel that it is important, this kind of classes, because we're in 2022. The time of the burning of the witches, it ended a long time ago. And now we have to recover back our power and start believing in ourselves and not be afraid to actually start using our gifts. We were born with it. It's like trying to cut ourselves, our hand. We're gonna need that hand sooner or later. And those gifts are part of us. And, and right now, also with the energies that right now are downloading in the planet, because the whole planet is already moved to the fifth dimension. Now we have to catch up with her. The veils are thinner. And probably if people that just waking up and start seeing spirits or start feeling them or start hearing them, and they don't know what is going on, they need to know about this, about there's these tools in many and with many teachers, with many places, that they can understand what is happening to them, because without us they're gonna still experiencing that, because that's what is happening to them. They're waking up, the veils are getting thinner, so they're gonna be experiencing all these kind of things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And
And
I
I
feel like
feel
it,
like it,
I
like,
feel
I
like
feel
there's
like there's
something that
something
we
that
need
we
to
need to
address,
address,
because I
because
feel
I
like
feel
the
like the
reason why
reason
so
why
many
so many
people
people
don't
don't
move
move
forward
forward.
with their gifts or whatever, because it's almost like they're scared that they're going to be labeled as crazy, or they're scared that they're going to face some sort of retribution or punishment in this lifetime. But like you said, the time of the witch trials is over, and this is just a reclamation of what is actually true. What is actually true and how the world actually works. So people are getting a big wake up call, and that's why we are here, to be light leaders, to be able to show people how to move forward in this, and that they're not crazy, and that it is normal and natural.
Something that I noticed a while back when I started channeling, that every single human being channel. They just do it unconsciously, but they still do it. I work with many artists. I had two art galleries. I've been an artist for 43 years, and obviously, in the two galleries, I met thousands of artists and so forth. And that's what I tell them is like, where do you think your inspiration is coming from in reality? Or the ideas for a scientist, where do you think that thing that suddenly you just know how to resolve where it's coming from for a mathematician too? For it doesn't matter where that muse that talks to us, uh, everybody, even in the one of the night, is like, oh, it was my idea. Yes, but your idea was tinted with the idea of one of your guides.
Yes.
So everybody, I don't care, is a psychiatrist, the same applies for them. So in reality, who can define what it is crazy? Who can actually are judging you because you are not thinking like them? I even have done poetry about this at this part because we're trying to fit in so much that we deny who we are. But it is important to talk about it. And don't let people gaslight you and make you feel crazy when you're not. It is important.
100%. And to know that we aren't crazy and know that we actually have these gifts inside of us and that it's very real and normal to be able to channel, to be able to use your spiritual gifts. We're supposed to be paid money to be able to use them. We're supposed to be well taken care of, creating our realities, all of these things. And it's just like, yes, like my vision for humanity, and I'd love to know your vision of humanity, is people like thriving and working together for the greater good and using their spiritual gifts to help others and all of those things. I see the unity, I see the coming together, and I see the deception and the illusions really falling off.
So tell me, Lisa, going back to the entities, how do you perceive them, the entities?
So
So
remember how
remember how
I
I
was
was
talking
talking
about
about
how I don't want to see apparitions. So I can get like a sense, like it's like a different sense. So I can either think, like I'll get a thought or like a knowing or a feeling. It'll feel like something heavy that's not theirs. So it all just comes in different ways. Truly. But my guides are really loud, and so are everybody else's because I'm kind of a loud person. Um, except when I don't want to be. And I'm just really told, or like I can feel it, or it's a knowing, 100%.
And at the same time, I would like you to give your point of view. What do these entities do to people when they are around them?
Oh, so entities can affect, especially lower entities, um, can really affect people's moods. They can create depression, people feeling depressed or anxious. They can create weight gain. They can create unsupportive thoughts. They can create, people to do actions. Like it takes me to this one example, and this is a really tragic example. But I remember hearing this story, and I don't remember exactly. I think it's probably about 10 years ago. But it was this man, and he called his parents in Ontario, and he said, I need you guys to come. Something is telling me to kill my children. I need you guys to come. And they didn't get there in time. Because this thing, like, it can literally be a force that overpowers you and overtakes you. I've worked with people that can make like their bodies shift and change, like it's so, like, make their veins pop, like it's so wild, the stuff that can happen when something really does have a hold of you. They can absolutely affect all levels of being, physically, mentally, emotionally. That's what I get. How about for you?
At the same time, it is our shadow.
Mm.
And something that is the biggest power that a human being have, it is our heart. It's our love, unconditional love. How I have transformed them. I have transformed in many ways. But one of them, I remember this one in particular, that I transformed is in love. And if they cannot resist love, they will go immediately because they can be in the presence of love. So that's one of the biggest powers that we humans have. So, or they can, if they decide to stay, they would transform and love you back.
Oh,
Oh,
So,
interesting.
is this our shadow at the same time? Is this why our shadow? Because at the same time, it's teaching us something. If everything that it presents in front of us, everything is synchronicity. It can be in the 3D or it can be in different dimensions. And if it's presented, it's in front of us, it is because it's teaching us a lesson for anything. Overcoming our fears, believing in ourselves, don't let people gaslight you, whatever it is, or self love, or learning how to give love. And that's why at the same time it is presenting in front of us because we have to learn something from it.
yes, I
Yes, I
100%
100% agree.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because
Because, like,
like also attracts like. That's what I was saying about like if you're hanging out in bars where these lower entities are, you're going like that means
that
that
means
that's
that
part of
that's
your
part of your.
vibration, and then of course it's going to be attracted there.
Oh, well, the entities, it can be in your home, not necessarily in a bar. It
Absolutely.
depends how's your mood, how you get along with your mate. It depends on who you invite to your house. It can be the mother-in-law that comes to your house and just leave their entity there. It depends on. It not necessarily is. It can be living in a church too. It can be. It doesn't matter because these entities are everywhere and we attract them like magnet or not. Depends on how vulnerable we are in
And
that
that's
moment.
why
And
it's
that's why it's
also
also
so
so
important to
important.
keep your energy clear and to keep in alignment, which is one of the huge things that I teach. And I know that you do as well, because we can be influenced by entities, and these kind of things can absolutely affect our day-to-day life, um, if we and even if we're not aware of it, absolutely they can affect us. So it's going to serve us the best if we are consciously aware and if we are doing what we can to maintain our alignment.
I know in the spiritual community, star seeds, etc., they try to put it like everything is love and light. But there are different dimensions of love and light that they have to be aware of that, and we can't be afraid because then we open doors. Just being afraid, oh, don't talk about that because this is too much for me. Yes, but then you're not acknowledge it. What do you have next to you? What is going to present yourself because you were needing to overcome that fear?
Yeah,
Yeah,
spiritual
spiritual
bypassing does
bypassing
not
does not
serve
serve
anybody.
any.
I totally agree with you. So, where do where was your background in learning all this? I know you were born also with all your magical gifts open. They just develop with time, and but what was the catharsis that actually make you realize that you were a psychic?
So I was born with abilities, and like I played. Oh, this is a great segue actually, because I played with um what do you call them? Imaginary friends. Well, they aren't imaginary friends. Let's put it that way. Okay. I used to set places at the table for them. But what really brought all of this on for me when I was about 16 years old, I was on my way, excuse me, with my mom and my sister on my way to my aunt's house driving. My mom was driving, and out of the blue I say, people who love each other, people who really love each other, die within 2 years of each other. And at the time when I said it, I was thinking about my oma and my opa. My opa had passed on, and it would have been the January 2nd, so this was Christmas, or the January 3rd, and this would have been Christmas Day, so like 8 days later would have been the 2-year anniversary. So I was thinking about my oma and opa when I said that. Didn't know why I said it, but they were married for what seemed like forever. And my oma was in um, a nursing home in another town. And we were going to see her after we had dinner at my aunt's house. So we get to my aunt's house and we walked in the door, and I had this overwhelming urge. And it was like a plea. It was like a force, like we have to go and see Oma now. My mom was like, yes, honey, we'll go like after dinner. We just have to eat. Like dinner was ready. And I lost my marbles. I was like, no, we have to go now. I became panicked. I just had this knowing within me. Well, thankfully, my mom listened and we went to go and see my Oma. And when we got there, she was acting really, really strange. And we called the nurses in and they rushed her to the hospital. Her vitals were off. Long story short, she passed later that night. So that was like a huge premonition for me. It also scared the shit out of me because I didn't know why I knew it or how, or I just thought it was like coincidence at first. But then other things started happening, especially throughout that year. So I knew somebody else I was talking to him and he was on his way to go and feed his tigers. And I said, please don't go feed your tigers because his parents weren't home. And we were so young, we were teenagers. And he's like, oh no, I'll call you right back after. Well, he didn't call me back. And I knew that something really wrong happened. And sure enough, he got killed feeding the tigers. So it was like another premonition. And then another one was the love of my life was in a car accident. And he was with two other people. And one of the people told me that he died in her arms, that he was talking to her and everything. And I believed her. This person was my best friend who was in the car with him. And I believed her. But then I kept on having this dream over and over and over and over again that he was all alone in a field. And he kept telling me he was alone, kept telling me but he was alone because the information that she had shared with me was really devastating, really heartbreaking for me. So I kept dreaming he was alone in a field, but really I believed this person. Well, years later, it came out in a police report that there was no way that she could have been holding him because he was trapped under a van and that they had actually left the scene and he was all alone. So it's like I was getting all of this information kind of at the same time. I was also just getting all kinds of premonitions. I would know a name of somebody before I would and then I would hear their name on the radio 2 days later that they passed away or whatever. It was just like this innate sixth sense that really kicked in. And honestly, it scared the crap out of me. And I ran from it for a long time. I ran from it for probably about 10 years. I self-medicated with alcohol and marijuana because of like tragedy and trauma that I'd been through in my life, but also because I could feel and see and think and know things. I specifically remember being in an apartment building. I was probably 32 years old. So about 10 years ago, I remember being in this apartment building and I like ran down the hallway because I could feel this thing in the hall. And I literally remember another time in that same apartment building. And if you think about it, there's tons of entities in apartment buildings, right? And I remember one time thinking about, I just remembered I was laying in the bed and I remember saying, because I grew up in the church and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I had no idea, but I just said, because I could feel this thing, in the name of God, you have to leave. You have to go away. You cannot bother me, because I was so scared. And sure enough, it left. But like I could feel things walk up my bed, which I knew now was my passed over cat. Like I could feel like little footprints and stuff. So like entities can even be animals and stuff too. They want to be close to us as well, and they want us to know that they're okay. So but that's when really that started to come on board for me.
Yes, how it is. It happens to all of us, and something that I would like to clarify to everybody that is listening right now or later on: don't try to lie to a psychic. It is ridiculous to try that. We even laugh about that. Like, don't, please don't. Why? Because we already know. It's not that we are trying to indicate to go deeper in your lie or something like that, because we already know what is happening, what is the truth, and we know the story. We already saw the picture even before you did it. So don't try that. It's like that's something that more that you accept whatever gift that you have, and more that you accept it, it comes more proof to you that you become stronger. It's like a muscle. When you go walking every day, you're gonna have strong legs. The same thing applies for being psychic or any of the gifts you have, because it can come in smells, it can come in photos, it can come in a knowing, it can come in many ways. And oh gosh, I have one that I have to tell about it. That I was in an art exhibit, and suddenly I can smell poo with someone, and I was like, okay, why? And every time that person got close to me, I can smell poo. And it was like, okay, what is going on? And I asked one of my friends, "Oh, this that guy is smelling bad?" Like, no, Monica, there's nothing wrong with him. That's when I discovered I have that gift. And then later on, and every time and again, I was like, okay, I can't stand it. I can't be around him, and because the smell was so strong and bad, and no
Yeah.
one can smell it. Later on, I find out why, because he have done many terrible things later on to kids, and that's the smell I was getting from him. It was not because he took a bath. It was not because he stepped in pool. It was his conscience. That's what I was smelling. So that's why I don't even try to hide it from psychics, because we already know. And the truth is, everybody is, but not everybody believe in themselves. Everybody have certain kind of gifts. Everybody, and you wanna work with them, develop them. That is separate. That is different. But we all have them. We're all special. We're not more special than anyone. Everybody is special, but some people want to believe it, and some people don't, and it is okay.
And I
And
think
I
that
think
that's
that's
why
why
I was really willing to have this conversation with you, is because you talk a lot about fear and how entities thrive on that and live on that, and that is so true, because we've been programmed to live from fear, or like to fear our spiritual, sort of fear the unknown or the unseen. And it's like that's like the 98% of reality that we're seeing, like the 1 or the 2% here, but like the reality is like, yeah. So it's fascinating, and I'm really getting into sacred geometry. But one thing that I really want to know, or that I want to talk about, is that's one of the reasons why I created the Academy Assumption. Just going back to that, is because when I was 16, I didn't have that support. I didn't know what it was. I was scared. I was crazy, especially because there was some family members with some mental illness. So I was terrified there was something wrong with me. And so I really just want to be able to hold the space and be able to support people who are stepping onto this path, and even experienced people as well, because like you said, since our session, like different things get activated. We have different gifts, and there's always deeper, but it's to always, no matter whether you work with me or with Monica or with anybody else, like it doesn't matter. Make sure that they are in alignment and that they are living the life that you want to be living. Make sure that they have integrity and authenticity and all of those things, that they are following and walking their talk. Essentially, that's what wants to come through.
Yes, like I've been with many Indian ceremonies, some dances, etc. And when I talk with some of the shamans, they tell me, be careful with the holo people. And if they say something and they do something different, they lost already kind of their soul, because they're not honoring themselves. So that's what they mean with be careful with the holo people. So just be aware of that, because yes, there's many people that are gonna promise you and do whatever. Just observe them if they're doing what they're actually saying, and that is important. That's how you're gonna find out. And it's not about being psychic. You just become observer.
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
I
that.
love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Would you have something else that you would like to add, Lisa? to this
I
conversation?
just
I
want
just
to
want
thank
to
you
thank
for
you for
holding this
holding this
space, and I'm
space, and I'm
so
so
grateful that I
grateful
got
that I got
to
to
meet you
meet
at
you at
Harvard and
Harvard
meet
and
you
meet
again.
you
I just
again. I
feel
just
so
feel so
connected to
connected
you
to
and your
you and your
heart. I
heart.
just
I
think that
just
you're
think that you're
wonderful.
wonderful.
I just want
I
to
just
say
want to
thank
say
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And I will see you in the academy later on.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
so
you
much,
so
my
much,
love.
my mother.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And please, if this help you or will help someone that you know, share it with them. I will appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for being in Soul Talk. This is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love.